Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to today's viewer's email. Today's email has come in from a guy called Gary, so a huge shout out for Gary for sending this email in. We all really appreciate it. And as always, if any of you guys have any stories that you want to share about yourself or about someone you know, as long as it's Thailand related, please do so by using the email address in the description. We do rely on these stories coming in by email to keep this channel going, so I would really appreciate that. Don't forget to give the video a like as well, comment, subscribe, all these good things. That way we can get the channel to more people and we have more chance to keep the channel going over time. And as always, what we're going to do though is read through the email in its entirety, break it down. I'll give you my opinions, my take, let you know what I think about it. Then open up the floor to you guys in the comments to share your opinions as well. Now, the subject of the email from Gary was this Thai bar girl was pure evil. So I think I can actually use that for the title of the video as well. So let's get into the email. John, I never thought I'd share this story with anyone, but I do like your channel and I think it would make for an interesting video. I moved to Thailand in the early 2000s, a long time ago now, and I really miss how it used to be. I fell head over heels in love with the bar scene and everything about it. The going out, the finding people, enjoying yourself, meeting friends, everything that went along with it. I spent countless years in living that life, and that's where I met my future wife. But before I get into that, I think and would like to say that social media has completely ruined the Thailand bar scene. Unfortunately now, people who work in that scene have access to information that shows that there is a different world out there. They want more, they're greedier, they want to live our lives, and that to me is disappointing. I suppose I should be lucky that we've lived such a fantastic time in Thailand in the early days before they knew what was available, but it's not the same as it was, and I don't go to bars anymore because it's just not fun. But let's get into my story. It was in about 2005. I was somewhere in Bangkok. I don't want to give the location away, but I met this beautiful little thing. Her name was Lynn, and I loved everything about her for the moment that I saw her. She was so naive, she was so simple, yet so special in every single way. I got talking to her, as you do. Drink after drink was flowing. This was the day when drinks weren't expensive, mind, so it didn't really matter. And I decided that I wanted to take her on holiday with me. This was a pretty rushed decision, and in hindsight I should have taken it a bit slow. But 2 days later, we were going on the bus down to Phuket. I didn't want to take her on the plane because I was thinking that, I didn't want to show any kind of wealth towards her. I wanted to see where I could go with as little money as possible to see if that would be to her liking. This was my clever mindset. Didn't really work very well, but this is something that I always wanted to try. So in Phuket, we have the time of our lives. I felt like I was falling in love, and Lynn felt like she didn't want much of anything, which is what I was after all. I didn't want someone that wanted all kinds of stuff. I wanted someone who was happy to have a basic meal and someone to take care of her, and the odd nice gift every now and then. The week we spent in Phuket was probably one of the best I've ever had. An amazing time. Then back in Bangkok, she went back to work in the bar. And she did say that if I paid some money, she could come and live with me. And I was tempted, but I thought I'd leave it for a bit, get to know her a bit more, and see if there's anyone else that would catch my fancy. After a bit, though, I did end up taking her out to the bar, and she moved in. The first 3 months were special. We had another week down in Phuket, and I even took her up to Chiang Mai as well. And I was getting to the point now where I felt like this was serious, that she was serious, and I was serious, and we both had each other's interests at heart. This is where things started to go wrong. The first issue came when she was receiving call after call on one particular day. I didn't think much of it, maybe it was family wanting to get in touch. But when she answered the phone, she accidentally put it on speaker, and a male voice started blaring out in Thai. Now, I didn't understand much of it, but it sounded like she was in trouble. It sounded like she was meant to be somewhere else and she wasn't. After quick conversation, it quickly turned out that this was actually her husband, that she was still married to. She said that she left him a long time ago and they're not together, but they are still legally married. A guy back up in Isan. Dear me, I thought. This is one of those, well, should I break it off right now? But I didn't. I kept going, headlong into the relationship. And eventually, a few months later, she did actually get divorced after I had to pay her ex-husband 100,000 baht for him to sign the papers. No big deal, I thought. All in, it's a small amount of money and it will free her to become mine fully. I didn't like the idea of her having an ex-husband. It seemed like too out of the way, too wrong, for a lack of a better word, John. But I wrote it off and we moved ahead. A few weeks later, she had another call. This time, it was someone who was very angry. That's all I could tell. Didn't know what they were saying or anything, but they sounded pretty infuriated. Now, this is when things start to get bad. It turned out that she owed a lot of money to a loan shark that she had borrowed to help out some family. At least that's what she told me. Her mum was sick and she needed money to pay for the hospital bills. She borrowed 100,000. It turns out actually she borrowed the money to cover a gambling debt, but she thought having sick family made it more acceptable. I didn't realise she was into gambling, but she'd racked up debts to lots of people and she owed a couple of 100,000 baht, and the interest was piling on. And because she wasn't working anymore, she wasn't able to get the money that she needed. She asked me to clear the debts and said we can get married. Foolishly, I agreed. Now, my intention of getting married in Thailand was to have a wife that would be my wife. I would be the boss, and she would simply be happy not to have to work where she worked before. But I paid the money to clear off the debts, and then she said, I don't want to get married anymore. Let's leave it another couple of months. She'd hoodwinked me out of a few 100,000 baht to pay off the debts, and now she didn't even want to get married, but she wanted to stay with me. I found this very, very odd. Now, many people in Thailand like to get married quickly because it shows good face to the family, but she didn't even seem to care about that. She said she's not close to the family now, she's in Bangkok, and she's not quite ready to get married. Well, here's when it starts to get really bad. It turns out that she never actually got divorced from her ex-husband. The money I had paid and their trip to the district office was just a facade. They were still married, and I couldn't believe it. When I raised this to her, she said that she went to the district office and her ex-husband ran away and she was upset and devastated. It turns out, though, that she wasn't at all. She wanted to remain married to this man. I couldn't for the life of me understand why this man was happy to have his wife sleeping around and doing things like that. But it turns out that he didn't really have very much self-respect, and the idea of fleecing a farang sounded better than working. I gave it one last chance, even though everything like this had happened. And the worst of the worst thing transpired. It was about 2 months later, and while she was with me most of the time, she went out one night with some friends. All well and good, I thought. She deserves a bit of a break every now and then, and while I did think that because I'm paying for everything, she is in essence my wife who has to do what I want, I do want her to have the bit of fun every now and then. She came back blind drunk, and what a shock it was. I'd never seen her so drunk, but she was laughing and giggling, and, well, I thought, let's talk about it in the morning. The morning came, and she didn't want to say much of anything, and we got a bit distant for the next few weeks. But I was still hoping out because the feelings I had for her were so incredibly strong. Another few weeks went by, and it turned out that she was pregnant. She came to me as though it was fantastic news, thinking that I was going to be happy. But things just didn't add up. I can't remember a situation when I could have potentially made her pregnant during that time frame. So, it was obvious what had happened. After much talking and much upset, she did admit that on that night out, she had done something with someone else, and, well, this was the results. I was absolutely heartbroken. I still was madly in love with her, but this was the final straw. I told her I wanted nothing more to do with her. She was, of course, very upset, but, well, if you're evil like that, you don't deserve anything as far as I was concerned. She said she refused to go. She refused to leave my apartment. But I forced her. I said, you have to. You don't have a choice. This evil, evil woman could have had a fantastic time if she'd just complied and been obedient. At the end of the day, she didn't have any money. So what does she want to have ideas and opinions for? I don't know. Anyway, John, this is my story. I know it's not as bad as many. Maybe it's my own stupidity for letting it go on for so long. I don't know what you think of this, but at the end of the day, it never happened to me again. I have never, ever fallen for anyone, and I refuse to do so. Cheers. Well, yeah, Gary, I'm not 100% sure what to make of this. Some of your ideas seem... This is just my opinion. Yeah, it's disgusting what happened. I understand that. But some of your ideas seem pretty extreme. That's something I would like to point out from the bat. You have to remember that this lady is an actual person. She's not your property. So, yeah, I would like to point that out. That is a pretty important thing to say. You have to understand that people are people. You can't treat them like property even though you're paying for things. So that's one thing I would like to say. Now, of course, the ex-husband issue, not being an ex-husband, taking your money. Yeah, she scammed you for some money. Now, your idea is, what does she need money for? All she needs to do is do exactly what I want, and then she'll never need money again. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And this story to me sounds like you were just expecting that money counted for everything, and she has to do what you want. And that's where your downfall is, I think, in my opinion. I understand that what she did is wrong. She should not have stolen your money. She should not have done anything like that. She should not have got pregnant, etc. Yeah, disgusting behaviour. But it seems, this is just my take, and I might get a bit roasted for this, but it seems like you were also an issue in this sense, just expecting her to do exactly what you wanted. Like, exactly what you wanted. That's what it seems like. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you need to have some kind of happy medium. Now, who's most wrong in this instance? Of course she was. She stole from you, and all you wanted to do was take care of her. I get that. I do get that. But some of the things, or the way you've described it in the email, it does to me seem like you were expecting like a slave, almost. And now, while I understand that you were paying for things, she shouldn't have stolen your money. You don't want her to be a slave, surely. You want her to be a partner. But it does feel like you wanted her to just do exactly what you wanted. I'm paying for it. Your opinions don't count. No, that it doesn't work like that. Then that's one of those things. Was she evil? I don't know about that. She was definitely conniving. She was definitely trying to get as much out of you as possible. She was still married to someone. And it sounds like she wanted to continue to be married to him. And you were still staying around multiple times. I don't get that. Now, why didn't you just leave originally? Why didn't you leave in the initial stages? What was the idea behind staying even after you found out she'd stole your money? When she said she was going to divorce her husband, you gave him 100,000 baht. What was that in aid of? You still stayed with her. You should have left it there and then. But you didn't. So, to me, that's the biggest issue here. Now, this... Yeah, I don't know how to react to this. I can usually react to these emails pretty well, and it's sort of a clear-cut case as far as I'm concerned. And this is pretty clear-cut. She stole from you, yes, but I must admit, I don't really like the language you use in terms of her having to do exactly what you wanted because you're paying. Granted, she should do most of what you want, yes, okay, but not to the extent where she's your property. I don't personally understand that. Anyway, I do really appreciate you sending this email in, Gary. It's pretty interesting to have a read through of this. I think it's entertaining, and I want to know what the guys listening into this story think about it. Now, you said you moved to Thailand in the early 2000s. The last thing I want to point out, just having a look back through here, you're talking about social media. Now, I do understand, pretty hypocritical here, but as someone who makes videos on social media, enjoys doing it, I mean, I don't really like Facebook or things like that. I never considered YouTube to be social media, in my opinion, but of course it is. I do get what you're saying, because social media... this is what I think you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. Social media is a Western invention, and people in Thailand are now using it and seeing what Western people have and are wanting a slice of the pie, and you're upset about that? Is that what you're trying to say here? It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. It doesn't work like that at all. So... but I can see what you mean. As someone who moved to Thailand in 2006, Bangkok 2006 was far better than it is today. No questions asked. That's why I left Bangkok and moved to Chiang Mai. No questions asked. Bangkok is not the place it used to be. But we've got to move with the times, don't we? You can't look back and think, well, they shouldn't have access to this and see what this and then want all this. Because you can't say that. Everyone's just people and they have their own dreams, so you have to accept that, Gary. I think that's what you were saying anyway. But yeah, I appreciate you sending this in. Anyway, guys, appreciate you all listening to this. Let me know what you think. This was a difficult one for me to react to because, as I've said, everything's we've covered. I get what he's saying. This lady does sound pretty not nice, but Gary's opinions do seem to be a bit one-sided. Expecting, we don't know how you behaved at all, Gary, so that's something. Let me know what you guys think in this case. I would really like to know. And as always, if you have any stories you want to share, please do so by using the email address in the description. And thanks for watching. Cheers, guys. Bye for now.